Hi, everyone. So, shortly after I had that strange, bizarre experience in January of 2001, my husband and I split up because my husband couldn't leave the drugs alone. He couldn't clean himself up. Jeff stopped using drugs, and Scotty, that was his dealer name, Jeff stopped using drugs. And he even wanted my husband to clean up. All of our friends were slowly stopping. And I was the first of all of them when I detoxed myself. And then they pulled themselves away from me because they didn't want to be, they didn't want to bring any more drugs around me. They didn't want to tempt me. They had seen this huge change in me, this happiness, and they wanted that. So they worked for it by stopping, by following the same footsteps that I would. But that we can't follow the exact same footsteps because I have Creator in my life. And that's one thing that they didn't have. That's who I lean on anytime that I was in trouble. That's who I call to anytime that I was in trouble. Anytime that things weren't normal in my life, that's who I'd call on. Whenever my head seemed to be twisted, whenever my life path seemed to be twisting, I would call on Creator. I would call on Creator, and when I prayed, I would pray and ask for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. But it was Creator that I always called on. It wasn't Jesus that I called on to help me. So when I was separated from my husband, I had a few more paranormal things happen to me in that home. This one night, my mother was watching my nephew and my daughter while we went to go and visit our cousin who lived on the next block. We just found out that he lived on the next block, my cousin Calvin. And my mother had told my brother not to be late because my nephew was teething, and if he woke up with any pains, she didn't want to be up with him all night because she had to work the next day. So I left my brother with my cousin, and I went home to go and keep an eye on his son. His son was still sleeping with my mom, and I just told my mom, okay, well, when he cries, I'll come and get him, okay? She said, okay, my girl. I made myself a bed on the hide-a-bed because since my husband had left and I had seen that apparition of this man going downstairs to my room, I didn't want to sleep in my room anymore. I couldn't find that person down there, so it freaked me out. After talking to my brother, Calvin, everything just was too freaky for me to be in that basement by myself. And I sleep on my stomach. And I sleep right beside my baby girl, my honey. And I heard my nephew crying, and I heard my mom call my brother. And I started to crawl backwards off of the bed. I'm calling out to my mom, I'm coming. But I didn't hear my voice when I said that. And I was almost off the couch bed. My legs are dangling, and I got pushed on to the bed. It was like somebody was completely over me, over my arms, over my legs, like their body was on top of mine. But there was nobody there. I couldn't move or lift my hand up. I couldn't. My head was completely flat like this, and it was looking in the corner, and I couldn't move my neck. It was like so much strength and force was on me. And then I heard some things that I couldn't explain. Like it was, and I felt and I smelled and I heard. I can hear this creaking in the dining room. And the lights are all off, but then there was this, then they came on. Like when I opened my eyes and I heard my mom calling my brother, the lights were off. We were sleeping. I didn't even know my brother was in the room. And I was facing his direction when I woke up. And then when I started getting off of the bed and I got pushed down on it, the lights came on. And I seen my brother was laying to my right on the other couch. And my daughter, I knew she was right beside me because I was holding her. Or I was touching her, like my body was touching hers. And I can see into this corner. And then I heard somebody, like the dial tone of our phone. And somebody's dialing something. And it's a girl. And she says, okay, they're ready for us. Come on, you guys, let's go. And I can hear at the same time that she's standing and dialing at the counter. There's this, it's like a little nook that separates the kitchen from the dining room. And she would have to be standing there. And there are two places in my dining room that there's creaking, and they both have their own significant sound of creak. And I can hear them both being creaked on at the same time. So there are two other spirits in there. And we don't even have a phone line. But I heard the dial tone. I heard somebody speak. She hung it up and she says, okay, guys, they're ready for us. And then I hear them enter my kitchen, go through my kitchen and my little foyer. And I hear the lock open, the door unlocked, and then it opens, and then the screen door, the lock opens, and then the screen door opens, and I can smell the earth. I can smell the earth. And there's sheer curtains in the corner, like these ones here. And they're blowing. They're moving. They move like the wind, with the wind from the door opening. And all this time, I'm still laying on my bed, this bed. My head is down. And my daughter is now starting to, she's starting to get cold. She's starting to cry. And I can't even move my hand to try to get to her. Like to soothe her, rub her. Let her know that she was okay. My body was released as soon as the door closed. As soon as the screen door closed and, well, the inside door closed. Shortly after that, I heard the screen door closed. And I was released. So I got up and I ran to that door. I ran around into the living room in the dining room, and I checked the phone. There's no phone line. I bounced onto those two spots in the meantime, like, to make sure that I heard those. What I was hearing was what I heard. What happened, you know. And then I went to the door, and the door is locked. The deadbolt and the handle. So I open it up, and I go and check the screen door, and the screen door is locked as well. But it didn't I couldn't explain how I heard the phone line, how I heard this voice, how I heard the people moving, how I heard the creaking. Who was it that was on top of me? How was it that I smelled the earth? I felt the breeze. I seen the effects of the breeze. God only knows. You see, my family, we all had curses on us. And none of us knew. We didn't know why our relationships would be okay for a really long time, and then all of a sudden, in just a short amount of time, our lives got destroyed. See, personally, I let go of things. I forgive people. I love and I forgive. If you hurt me, okay, I'm going to keep my eyes open for a reason, and not that a reason not to trust you, but I'm going to put my trust back in you. I'm going to forgive you. I'm going to put my trust back in you, and you can show me if you've changed. And 9 times out of 10, people show me that they've changed. They are who they were when I began to love them. And because all of us we all had curses on us. That's why all of this energy was in there, this spiritual energy that God allowed us to see, so that we could look back on it and say, you know what? That makes sense now. This makes complete sense. The more people that have curses on them, the more spiritual activity that's going on around them. Like when in my grandmother's houses, my grandmother had activity in her house because too many people in that house had curses on them, and they had all these spirits sent to them to make these curses happen. And the same thing with us. Me, my brothers, my mother, we all had curses on us. And the spirits that are sent to us, and my husband, we all have spirits that are like guarding us, making sure that, that curse stays